time for Silver Linings with Greg Neal, physical gold and silver expert and wholesale supplier, answering your questions about how and where to store your hard-earned money with a rational sense of peace in troubled times.
Good morning, folks. This is Melody Neal from the Gold Ore Store with my husband here, Greg.
Hi, folks. It's a pleasure to be here again.
We are so excited to be here. We have a incredible information to give you, and I don't want you to get all backed up because it's going to go really, really fast. We're going to be reading a lot of information because we want to get it straight, but you'll be able to download this podcast or listen to it from our website, which is the Gold Ore, O-R-E, store at gmail.com. So if it comes at you too quick and you want to rewind and listen to it over and over, or you want to share it, go on our website. All of our podcasts are there, and you can get the information there. So I will turn it over. We're going to just jump right into the fire this morning, Greg. It's
really an incredible. We're going to talk about gold and silver, but particularly we're going to talk about our dollar. Many of you may or may not be aware of the fact that actually we are in a change mode, and we have been for the last couple of years with regard to our dollar, our Federal Reserve note that is really not money. It's nothing more than just a debt note. And this debt note has actually put us into even deeper debt as far as this U.S. national debt is concerned. We're looking at over $19,410 billion as we state this even at this very moment. Another interesting aspect to, let's just kind of go from there, and we're going to talk about exactly what's going on with regard to our money, those notes that we have in our wallet. The new U.S. currency is already in our money supply. And when I say new U.S. currency, I'm talking about actually the Treasury notes. Right now, they still have Federal Reserve printed on them, but they're actually moving towards a truly new note, and that note is actually backed by gold and silver. I know right now many of you are like dropping your jaws. You're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about, Greg? Well, what I'm talking about has been something that's been in motion for quite some time, and there are some people in the government who actually have our best interests in mind rather than our negative interests, which is where we've been for so long. Many of you just have given up, but the truth of the matter is there really truly is some people that are behind the scenes that really want us to prosper. They want us to have value in our lives. They want us to have wealth in our lives. They want us to, because the people haven't had this for so long, folks. And you know this listening to me. It's like, what do I do with my money? Where do I go anymore? The bank that you have that money in or holding it right now are paying you nothing in interest. You have nowhere where to put it right now because you're scared. You're not feeling comfortable with the situation. What's going on out there? How do I make money on my money? Money is supposed to have velocity. It is supposed to create more value for you. And right now, we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about actually the money that's in circulation. Many of you have been stressing about the collapse of the U.S. dollar and the Federal Reserve. You need to take faith that the initial measures have been taken to ensure a not-so-hard landing when the Federal Reserve note will be retired out of circulation. Yes, this is going to happen. It's being replaced by notes printed and backed solely by the U.S. Treasury. The Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury are two completely different entities. The Fed has been acting as basically the
bullies
boss
of the world,
the boss of the U.S. Treasury, when really, in reality, it should be the other way around. The Treasury truly should be pushing these guys out and actually doing their job. In 1913, when this crazy, insane Federal Reserve system was actually created and allowed to be
at
the
midnight
actual controller,
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we'll talk about how. Anyway, the bottom line is that it is not a good thing for us. It never has been. And as the years have gone on, and particularly in 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold-backed securities or silver certificates and put us back or put us on a petroleum-based backed dollar, which really is BS, by the way. So we've been dealing with this up until now, to this very moment. So over 40 years, we're under this situation where there is nothing backing the security of our notes. And again, we're back to this concept of this Federal Reserve note. The Federal Reserve note that you hold in your pocket, your wallet, or as many as you have right now, or wherever they are, even in digitized form in your bank account, is not money, folks.
There was an article not too long ago that talked about the millions of people that have been pulling their money out of their savings accounts because they are uncomfortable with the stability of the banks and what's going on with the banking system and all the insidious fraud that went on that contributed to the housing collapse in 2008. And they've been putting it in their safe, and they've been putting it in their mattress, so to speak. And they showed that, this is going to be a problem if we're turning over to a new currency, which would be gold-backed, which would be the Treasury notes.
Correct.
Those Federal Reserve notes that you have in your safe right now or under your pillow are going to be obsolete. They're going to call them in, and they're going to be obsolete. And so what are you going to do? Now, if you had pulled out $300,000 in 1985, correct, and put it in your safe, your buying power of that $300,000 that $300,000 that could have bought then would only be worth about, and I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact number, but it was around $120,000 is all you were going to get.
Yeah,
today.
You basically lost 2/3 of your buying power.
However, if you had rolled that into gold in 1985, you'd have 880 ounces of gold in your safe.
Yeah, that's extraordinary.
And I get that it's important to have some cash, but if you're stockpiling a lot of cash, guys, you may want to rethink how you're handling it and secure your ability to purchase and protect your family.
Well, you can easily times that 880 ounces times 1,300, which is an extremely conservative number right now, since we're in the 1,350 to 1,360 range right now. And do the math. Get out your calculator right now and do the math. Take a look at this. This is just as extraordinary. I mean, there are people out there that are now cashing in these stores of wealth, and it truly is wealth: silver, gold, coinage, what we call junk silver. They've been storing bullion. And many of these folks bought in silver at $2-3, and they've been storing it in bags all these years. Many folks got into gold around $300, $250, even less than that. If you bought in the 70s or in the 60s, you're down to $70, $60, even in the 60s for 1 ounce of gold. And it's all relative to the time, which was that was a lot of money in that day. So. But the point is now you purchased this at possibly $70, $100, let's say $300. Now you've got this value of $1,300, which, by the way, folks, is not even based in real reality as far as the true value of gold and silver is concerned. It's not even close. The dollar to silver ratio right now is $878.84. On this Sunday, the 7th of August, 2016, $878.84. Did you hear me? Are you hearing what I'm saying? These are the true values of this item in our world that has always been money. The dollar to gold ratio right now is $7,948 per ounce. This is based on the fact of where the dollar is truly at, the real true values and the real true values of gold and silver. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. No one is going to tell you about this. While you're out there listening to Trump and all the crap about Trump and Hillary and everything else that's going on, this is all cover for the real truth about what's going on in our society and with our money.
That's right. And, Clint Carlson, the founder of Carlson Capital, it's an $8.5 billion hedge company. He was on Bloomberg TV this week and talked about what was wrong with the U.S. Treasury prices, the investors bypassing the growth. We're going to talk about all of this when we come back. And again, this is Greg and Melody Neal from the Gold Ore Store, historic downtown St. George.
435-703-9119. Call us. Call us today. We want to talk to you, and at the very least, we will call you back. Leave a message.
Have you lost trust in the government? Have you lost trust in your bank or investment portfolio? Are you just flat out scared right now about what is coming on the horizon? If you're ready for another choice in where and how to store your hard-earned money, Greg Neal, physical gold and silver expert and wholesale supplier, has answers and a rational sense of peace in troubled times.
Now is the time to make a change. This is Greg from the Gold Ore Store. Come in or call 435-703-9119.
All right, folks, the bell is ringing. It is time for you to start listening to what we've got to say, because we are here, and we're here to assist you in actually realizing that there are serious things going on in our economy right now. They're absolutely affecting you, and it's time to start doing something about it.
If you're just tuning in, this is Greg and Melody Neal from the Gold Ore Store. And we're talking about the economy and what's going on with our investment money and what we can do to protect our families from this impending financial meltdown that we're about to experience.
Yeah, the bell is ringing, and I got to get advanced enough so we can actually ring a bell on our on our show here. But a top-performing $8.5 billion hedge fund founder, Carlson Capital, Clint Carlson, is saying U.S. Treasuries are in the wrong place. They're in the wrong price. Investors have bypassed growth and moved to risk parity. Frankly, a shameless abrogation of any equity fundamental analysis replaced by the bond proxy. Which what he's saying is basically they're in the, it's not working. The bond market's not working anymore. That's the only safe place that we've had to put our money for actually the last couple of years. The bond market's falling apart all over the world. It's now time to take a look, guys. The valuations of stock is absolutely ridiculous. We got a Dow that's, over 18,000. I mean, this thing's craziness.
Yeah, let me read to you what Goldman Sachs says. They came out in an article in Fortune.com just this last week on August 1st, and the title is Goldman Sachs Says It's Time to Sell Stocks. Now, listen to what they say about it. I'm going to read this so that I don't misquote them.
Well, let me just restate. That was Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, folks? Okay. One of the biggest players in the world in stocks.
So they sent out a note last Sunday to their clients, to their team. Goldman Sachs was down by 0.40%. And the analysis who downgraded their 3-month outlook on equities to underweight, quote, underweight, Wall Street's cushioned way of saying sell, sell, sell. They talk about being cautious, and in the past few weeks, investors have tamed their concerns over the Brexit. Right after the Brexit was announced, things just kind of fell down, and then we're starting to roar back again, and it's looking like we're recovering. Well, the reason, in part, everyone is anticipating lower interest rates and therefore are willing to put their money in riskier assets, and Goldman Sachs says that is buoying up the stock market, boosting up yields, and it's just a big bubble.
It is a big bubble. I mean, the numbers are astronomical. I mean, this year alone, we've had almost 800 1,000 bankruptcies in this country. This year alone, there's been 526,696 foreclosures at this very moment. Are you hearing these numbers, folks? There's the Medicare enrollees in this country, 57,845,000 living in poverty. Get this number. 46,885,166 individuals are living in poverty in this country. That's more than 10% as far as I know it, as far as our numbers of population in this country. There's 40,776,568 without insurance that do not have any coverage whatsoever. Take a look at these numbers, folks. This is absolutely insane. We have 49,925,369 U.S. retirees now.
So we know that the fiat currency system isn't working. So let's jump right into the 2009 $100 bill series as a hybrid of the old FRN, which is Federal Reserve note, and the new U.S. Treasury note, and why this is significant, guys, because we are going back on the gold standard.
We are.
Our money isn't going to be printed and the ceiling debt raised and raised and raised to pad the pockets of corrupt politicians and world leaders anymore. We are fed up.
It's really true. And if you have the ability to pull out a $100 bill right now, I'm going to give you a second to do so. And I'm talking about the new $100 bills, which
the one with the blue stripe on it.
That kind of shocked everybody when it first came out. And it should kind of shock and awe everybody, because there's some fascinating information behind the scenes that you deserve to know about this particular note, because this note was really the impetus and the initial note that was released to the public regarding, and actually done somewhat covertly, to be quite honest with you, against the Federal Reserve System, to show that the fact that we're actually going back to a gold-backed currency. And it is rather interesting. If you do have one in front of you right now, or have the ability to even go online right now and take a look at the new $100 bill, just put that in the search engine, you'll see some really interesting things. And you probably have not taken the time to really look at this thing, but it's really quite an incredible note.
If you don't have access to one, that's okay. You can always listen to the podcast on our website later and listen to us talk about this.
Yep. And because of time, we're not going to be able to go in as in-depth as we would like to about this, but we're going to talk about a little bit about this and what it's really truly all about. The $100 note, the new one, is basically letting you know that we're headed in a new direction. We're headed back to old concepts, but we are definitely headed into a new direction. The Federal Reserve is a defunct organization, folks. It's actually bankrupt, and what we're headed towards is removing the Federal Reserve from as the acting Reserve Bank for the United States of America, and we're moving towards an actual Treasury-backed security, meaning a gold note.
So, Greg, sorry to interrupt you, but before you go on the 2013 brand new note with the blue strip, you might want to have them, if they have access to the older note, the 2009 series,
right, with
Benjamin Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 2009, if you look at the bottom on the blue $100 bill that was purported to be made for security purposes in 2009 series, mm-hmm. if you have an old one, please hold and compare them as we walk through this, because,
right. And so that's why I'm saying, if you don't happen to have any readily available to you, please go online right now and just do a search on the $100 bill. And do it on the new bill, and it'll actually talk about what we're discussing here in some regards.
Yeah.
So the old bill is basically the old system. It's basically supporting the Federal Reserve and their plans. In the center is a picture of Benjamin Franklin, the only face on the U.S. currency besides Alexander Hamilton, who was not a U.S. president. Maybe you weren't aware of that. And on the left side of the bill, you'll find the words Federal Reserve Note. It's just right above the serial numbers. And you'll see that the seal for the private corporation United States Federal Reserve System is to the left of Benjamin Franklin. And on the right side, you'll find the words United States of America and the seal with the same, which is the Treasury seal which is right under the $100.
Now, pay real close attention to the statement. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Mm-hmm. This is on the left side of the bill, underneath the Federal Reserve seal.
Right.
Examine the $100 bill, the new one.
Yeah, and so now take a look at the new bill online, or if you have one, and you'll start to see some dramatic changes and differences here. You'll notice that it's got this, first of all, this real bold blue line just to the right of center of Franklin. Franklin's body and whole thing has been kind of expanded as far as what you see there. And then you're looking to the right, and what do you see? I mean, what is all that? It just seems like everything's kind of been shifted on this bill. You'll notice that there's an enormous amount of the color of gold. It's all over this thing. And you also notice that there seems to be some kind of a holographic design to the 100 on the right-hand corner on the bottom right-hand corner. It actually shifts from green to gold. Isn't that interesting? It shifts from green to gold when you turn it. So in just a few moments, we'll be back, and we're going to discuss more about this and why it's affecting you. Just hold on there, come back, because we got lots to talk about.
Gold and silver is the purest money on earth. It can't be printed, and it can't be created. Gold and silver is money and insurance for your family. We hope you never need it, but wouldn't you rather have peace of mind? The Gold Ore Store. Now is the time.
The Gold Ore Store, for your family's peace of mind. The Gold Ore Store, located on Main Street in historic downtown St. George.
All right, guys, this is Greg and Melody Neal from the Gold Ore Store in historic St. George, Utah. We have been talking, and here's our number, 435-703-9119. It's 435-703-9119. This may be the most important story or event that we've ever covered as far as our store is concerned and what we're discussing right now, because it's affecting you and me in the same way. And so we're going to continue to discuss this $100 bill change, and all the other notes that we use in our currency system right now are all shifting. Every single one of them is changing, okay? And, in some respects, people kind of call it monopoly money. It's all this color. Well, you know what? Other countries have been using this technology forever, and here we are just now getting to this point as far as the security features of the notes themselves, which are very, very advanced. However, I want you to know that almost immediately when this was released, the Chinese were actually already involved in counterfeiting the new $100 bill. If you want to see one, we have one in our store, and you won't believe it, because it's so perfect that I won't go into the depth of it. All I'm going to tell you is the fact that you'll have to see for yourself, and it is a counterfeit.
And you can't buy it.
And you cannot buy it. That is the other thing.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so the Secret Service is hearing me. We're not involved in anything other than just showing, an example.
So getting back to the $100 bills, if you fold the $100 bill in half with Benjamin Franklin's face on the outside, and you have an old bill and a new bill, and hold them right next to each other, you'll notice that on the old bill, when you have it folded in half of Benjamin Franklin's face is off off to the side. In other words, it wraps around to the back side of the bill. The new $100 bill has Benjamin Franklin completely on the left side of the bill. So when you turn the bill over and look at the back side, he's completely removed, and there's a great big blue line.
Right, and it is interesting because the 10 is being, completely. They're removing Hamilton completely. They kind of gave us an advance notice. That's what your new $100 bill is all about. It's they're getting us prepared, folks, for the advancing, shifting world of money. And the whole entire world is actually going to a gold-backed security-based financial system.
Well, if you'll remember, Benjamin Franklin was probably chosen for the $100 bill because he was well known for printing fiat currency back in the colonial states.
He is. He was, and most people don't realize this, but he is really into what we have today as a Federal Reserve system. This whole concept is quite time. It goes back quite some time.
Oh yeah, he was a major spokesman for the land-backed fiat currency that could be adjusted by the issuer who held the land and the notes, because money back then was really scarce. Yep. And then, of course, Jackson was totally against it.
Yeah. Yeah, on the right side of that bill that we're talking about right now, it has hidden in plain sight some messages about the new U.S. Treasury note currency. The pen and inkwell remind us that we, the people, or as it is written on the right side of the note, July 4, 1776, States of America, not the United States of America. It can eliminate the Federal Reserve or existing government anytime we like with the will of the people and the stroke of the pen.
Yeah, and
So that's why that feather pen, done all in gold, is there. These are all symbols, and they're to remind us that we, the people, really do control our government. It's just time to engage in that process right now.
Back in 1963, you might remember one of our good dear presidents, John F. Kennedy, he fired the Federal Reserve and printed Federal Reserve notes because he knew that the fiat currency was the downfall of America. And, of course, he ended up being assassinated, and the gentleman that was called into Treasury under John F. Kennedy, Joseph Barr, was also taken out 6 months later. So this is a huge win, guys.
Yeah, this has been actually, this entire process has been going on for over 50 years to release the bonds, the bondage of the people of the United States of America, and release them from this insane system that we've allowed ourselves to get bound up in. And so let's go back to that note. On the opening words from the Declaration of Independence are written in gold on the right side of the bill under the golden feather. The gold inkwell with the Liberty Bell. Not all of the words are legible, and some seem implied as they are hidden under images. But the passage clearly begins and ends with the phrases in this historic proclamation. And then it starts with, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth to separate an equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We're talking about the people actually having control of the government, not the other way around, which we're in right now. I mean, take a look, folks. What is happening inside of you right now while you're listening to this? Is this making sense to you? I mean, we are moving forward here, with or without you, and there is just a limited amount of time to really release ourselves from the Federal Reserve notes that we may be holding right now. These have got to be exchanged. You've got to get out of this old currency because there's going to come a moment where you won't be able to anymore.
The stocks, it's always just upsetting to me. We had invested in stocks when we first got married, and then there was a big collapse in the market back then in the 80s. And we lost,
Basically
almost
everything.
all of our investment. And, because we were so new to it and didn't understand it, we didn't stick with it. We just pulled it out, took the loss and walked. But where does it go? When the computer says it's worth $50 today and then this afternoon it's worth $25, where does that money go?
Yeah, it's really an interesting quandary. And many folks, if you really start to take a look at it, it's like, yeah, where does that go? The only way this can really truly happen is through debt notes. There is there's nothing there. And we could go really deep into this, but the truth of the matter is, do you really own anything when you've paid for it with Federal Reserve notes? Boy, that's got to hit home. Do we really truthfully own anything when it's been paid for by Federal Reserve debt notes? What do you think? What's your feeling on this? You can give us a call today at 435-703-9119, and let's talk. If this is affecting you directly and you see something in your life that you'd like to make a difference in and change, maybe we have something that might assist you. Remember, we're in the gold and silver business, folks. We assist people in, getting rid of those Federal Reserve notes for real money, something that actually has real tangible value that you can hold on your person or keep with, in your space, that is not debt notes. It is not based in paper. It is real money that you can have with you wherever you choose.
Yeah, you might have spent $35 an ounce on silver a few years ago, but you still have that silver.
Yeah, it's almost like I want to say, who cares? It doesn't really matter because I just gave you the true value of dollar to silver ratio, $878.85. This is the real true number, and actually that's even low. Many people are suggesting that we could see $1,000 to $2,000 silver in no time flat. Once the handcuffs are off, meaning the rigged market that we deal with, all markets are rigged, by the way, but once the handcuffs are off and the COMEX, the Commodities Exchange out of Chicago, is basically put on trial for not even having real goods to back up the trades that they actually make on a daily basis, we're talking about one of the biggest trials in history. The real truth of the matter is these numbers that we're selling at today are absolutely ridiculous. So it's time to start waking up, folks. It's time to take a look. If you've ever thought about what I'm talking about right now as another way for you, it's time for you to start picking up the phone, calling us, and making an appointment so we can chat. So we're this next segment that we come back to, we're going to basically kind of dig deep into this and give you some options that can assist you. So we will see you in just a few minutes. And thanks for holding with us. We'll be right back.
Traditional investments are losing their appeal. There is a process going on that is changing mindsets. Gold and silver is the purest money on earth. It can't be printed or created. Do you want to protect your wealth with insurance and give your family peace of mind? The Gold Ore Store, now is the time.
The Gold Ore Store, for your family's peace of mind. The Gold Ore Store, located on Main Street in historic downtown St. George.
We are back, folks. If you're just tuning in, this is Greg and Melody Neal from the Gold Ore Store. We've been talking about fiat currency, and the value of our dollar and how we're switching into Federal Reserve notes, not out of Federal Reserve notes and into Treasury notes. Yeah. And we've been talking a little bit about some of the symbols on the bills, and also about just fiat currency, and how when you pay things with a debt note, like fiat currency, like your mortgage payment, your car payment, you're paying with something that is a debt. So do you really own it? So Greg, I want you to talk about if you have your mortgage paid off, where is the title?
The title is held by an organization called Seed and Company, and we can talk about this personally if you want to go in deeper. It's actually the Depository Trust Corporation that actually the holder of that is the Seed and Co. And many of you have no idea about this, but this is the reason basically that, I'll just basically say it to you, that you don't really own anything when you are paying on a mortgage. It's really the truth, and we can dig into this personally if you like to. But the point is, how can you own anything that has actually been or is being paid for by debt notes?
Can I just back up just a little bit? I want to let the people know. There was a limited audit on the Federal Reserve after the 2008 financial crisis that was revealed between 2007 and 2008. The Federal Reserve loaned over $16 trillion, more than 4 times the annual budget of the United States, to foreign central banks and globalist private companies. And if you've been watching the news, we heard last night that the Italian bank went down.
Yeah, the Italian banking
Italian
banking system has actually taken a plunge, and you're not going to hear this because guess what? Rio with the Olympics just started on Friday.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting.
That's more important than your money.
So not only the stock market, but the way our money has been pushed as a bully around the world because it was the world currency. It's a Ponzi scheme. A total collapse or controlled demolition has to happen in order to collapse the Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah. I tell you, folks, just turn off the damn tube. Seriously. Turn off the television, because you're absolutely just getting ripped a new one is really what's going on there. You are not going to get any truth from that television.
We are going
Turn the damn thing off.
Yeah, we're going to see a failed fiat system in my lifetime. And in your lifetime, and maybe even this week, maybe next week, maybe next year, or, whenever it happens, it will happen. And we will be smarter and wiser, and we'll choose better. But we've got to do things a little bit different.
We do. I mean, we basically have got to eliminate the Federal Reserve. Well, actually, it's already in motion, just so you know. And it'll either just eliminate itself by declaring bankruptcy. The Fed's a private corporation, remember, folks. It is in the business of making money, nothing else. Doesn't care about you and I, has never cared about you and I. They can go bankrupt as any company can that overproduces and undersells its goods and services.
And for all of you guys that are holding those Federal Reserve notes after the collapse, please see the Federal Reserve to settle your notes.
Yeah, think about that, okay? If you got a problem with the Federal Reserve note or your bank no longer taking them, you better go see the Federal Reserve. Guess what? You're not going to get anything for that, for those notes.
Central banks can continue paying the debt service by printing old currency backed by the bankrupt Fed. All the money loaned out by the Fed will have to see the Fed for redemption. Mm-hmm. So don't come looking for we the people to bail you out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no
there won't be any authorization because it'll be a bankrupt company. It's like holding stock from a company that is defunct. Uh-huh. You're not going to be able to collect on it.
Yep.
So this is critical, guys.
Yep. And so there's going to be instituted a new paper and digital currency based upon gold and silver standard.
And
did you hear me?
Yeah.
This is it. We really truly have to do this. It's in motion, and I'm proving it to you by showing you what's going on with our new $100 bill. If you think anything in our government or anything related to our government is just by happenstance, that these new bills just happen to look like this, just for no reason at all, you've got another thing coming.
So do you think they're going to continue to have paper, or do you think they're going to shift to a digital currency?
I
How
believe
does that work?
that will actually always have paper as far as like daily transactions, but I believe the government wants to move us into complete digitized, currency, cards, things of that type of thing. These notes and digits will be controlled by the U.S. Treasury, who will be prohibited from ever turning its power over to the non-government agency.
Now, that will be subjected to a computer, like the whole Bitcoin thing.
It'll come from the people, basically. The whole concept is what do you want? What do you want your money to look like?
So we, the people, will be able to use a wide array of currencies from local and state currencies. I remember we've got old money in our store that was printed by Alabama or Texas.
They're called national notes. And, the individual banks were actually allowed to release to the public national notes, and they were seen as money.
Now let's go back to the whole mortgage thing. We were talking about when you pay off your home, who holds the title?
Well,
or should I say, where is my title housed?
It used to be held in New York on Water Street until the Sandy, the big hurricane, actually flooded the actual storage or vault system that held literally trillions of dollars of value of supposedly these titles and deeds to property, as well as every single stock certificate ever issued. And we're literally talking about trillions here. And so all of this was, you may not be aware of this, but all this was destroyed. There is nothing backing. I'm sorry to say this, folks, but there is no title to your house with a mortgage company. It does not exist. They can't create it. They can't provide it. And in fact, if you take them to court, they will have to back down and release ownership to you.
Well, if you closed on a home since 2008, have you seen any paper titles at closing? Right.
No.
Why aren't the title companies and the banks concerned about paper titles anymore?
Well, it's because they created a system that's all electronic, and basically they're utilizing your signature that just basically states that you'll pay this debt related to the 30-year or 15-year mortgage that you have. By the way, mortgage, mort, an Italian, a Latin word for death. It's a death gauge.
So,
okay.
Yeah, this is really interesting, too. If you look at the $5 bill, the $10 bill, the $20 bill, the $50 bill, and old $100 bills, if you haven't seen these, if you fold it a certain way, it actually shows the Twin Towers falling.
Yeah, there's.
You can Google it, guys. Twin Towers falling on currency bills. These images were designed on the bills long before 9/11.
Yeah. Well, like I said before, there's not a single thing in government that is not planned. Not one thing. Everything has been planned well ahead of the action or the results that you and I experience, i.e., 9/11. So let's take a look. Let's start. The world is changing, but the world is changing because the people are starting to take a closer look at what is going on in their world. And a show like ours allows you to really start opening up that mind, that beautiful mind that you have, to allow you to take a look. Do you feel like you're really being taken care of? Do you really feel like you're getting value for your money today? What is that gut feeling that tells you something is going on in our world? We have serious things happening right now with your money that it's time to take a look. And so that what that means is it's time to actually take action.
We have so much more information. We're extremely concerned about what's going on in the market. You should be too. So come and see us at 7 North Main Street, right in historic downtown, or go check out our website, goldorestore.com. You can re-listen to the podcasts, but it's critical, guys. We've got to do things differently. We've got to protect our families. We've got to have our food storage. We've got to be prepared. Get a little gold and silver, or get a lot of gold and silver, but get that money out from under your pillow and invest it in something that's tangible that you can hold and keep and trade in for the whatever currency we're on, because it's coming, guys.
So yeah, any amount that you're interested in, we can cover you. $10, $20, all the way up to $1 million. Call us. We can assist you. 435-703-9119. We're going to be talking more about this next Sunday, so tune in. And don't forget to tune in right after the Kate Dalley Show on Monday. Not tomorrow, but the next Monday. We're every other Monday. Bye, folks. We love you. We'll see you soon.
Join us every other Monday at 4 p.m. here on Fox News Radio for Silver Linings with Greg Neal. You can find Greg at the Gold Ore Store on historical Main Street in downtown St. George. 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 Downtown